All right, welcome back, friends, to this week's episode of Thank You, Come Again. Today, I am joined by Stuart Arsenault, CEO over at Junip. Stuart, big thanks for joining the show today, man. How are you?
I'm good, Blake. Thanks for having me. So happy to be here.
Yeah, super stoked. I know you're coming off of Unite as we record this. How was the experience over at Unite?
Unite was good. It was definitely a more toned down version than years past, but the parties were not. And so a little bit tired, but it was good to see everybody in person again. There are a lot of folks that we were just chatting before, like Greg, your old friend from Attentive, like these people who I haven't been able to see in 3 or 4 years because of the pandemic, and it's just nice to get to hang in person.
Love it. Yeah, it's so great to see people again in person. Like as I'm networking at these events now, it's like kind of surreal. I mean, it's really cliche to say, but just seeing people in person, I think, for even doing, partnerships with, working with day in and day out, like people think I'm, a little bit shorter than I actually am in real life. So it's always fun to kind of shock people with how tall I am. But anyway, I digress. But
Snuck that one in. Just snuck that one in to the recording. Everybody, banner title of the episode: Blake is tall.
I don't know. Maybe Jordan on our team's a little taller than me. We'll have to have a measuring contest there.
It's the next social campaign. Who's tallest on Wonderment?
Love it. And well, today's episode is all about collecting reviews. But before we dive into that and kind of talk about, reviews, how it influences repeat purchases and all that good stuff, can you just share like who is Junip, who is Stuart, like what do you do over there?
Yeah, so Junip is a review platform for e-commerce businesses. We're really good at collecting reviews, both through like our ability to send review requests through your marketing automation providers, as well as the way that people submit reviews onto our platform. On average, a brand that moves to us gets 4 times the number of photos and videos with their reviews, which is sometimes good. And our team came from the e-commerce tech space, so we were at another company before we started Junip, and then started it right before the pandemic. So we're definitely the new kid on the block when it comes to reviews.
I know you guys are doing a lot of awesome stuff. Us, we work together from my time at Attentive, just kind of seeing what you're building, the brands you're working with. So many Wonderman customers also use Junip. So, I mean, you guys are definitely cooking a lot of amazing products. So, I'm really stoked to just kind of get your take on this space of reviews and UGC, and kind of learn a little bit more just generally like how you see kind of this whole kind of ecosystem. And I'd love to just start the conversation, like defining the why. So why, in your opinion, do customer reviews matter for retail and e-commerce brands?
I think at this point in time, it's just become like core to the experience. It's funny, like we've been running the business for about 3 years now, and we've actually yet to have a brand ask us like, should I do reviews? They all come to us wanting to do reviews, because it's just like we've all shopped online. Like, what is the first thing that you look to when you're making a purchase? You look at the reviews on the product page. Then often you actually bounce out and like you check reviews on YouTube, or you check reviews in like different writers that you like following, or like Google reviews, or whatever it might be. And this sort of experience of like shopping online, like you can't touch, feel, smell, whatever the product, and so you need social proof to be able to help understand what you should and shouldn't buy.
I think that's so true. And also like thinking about it, like we are creatures of influence in a lot of ways, and we run in these kind of circles. I think of if XYZ person had a great experience, I typically feel like I might see myself having that same great experience. And like if I I mean, this is probably very cliche to say too, but if I see products that have no reviews or like very sketch reviews, I'm very hesitant to want to buy that product, but also like even maybe investigate it further. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great, defining the why and kind of understanding this. But something I really love about Junip and like how you kind of see this world is you've talked a lot about like, I think you used the words like quality over quantity for capturing reviews. Like, could you just share a little bit like why quality over quantity?
Well, I think you actually touched on it in the last thought you had around like, when you see a sketch review, and like we've we as humans have like been on the internet for a couple decades now, and like we've been able to like learn like this is a scam, this is real, like this looks sketchy, and like our flags go up when we see anything that looks even remotely like sketchy. And so the simple like title, star, and text is fine, but people just know it's like so easy to fake. And unfortunately, there have been a lot of bad actors on the brand side that have just moderated out all their reviews, or they've uploaded like a bunch of fake reviews. And so what we see brands like Olipop or bodybuilding.com or Jones Road Beauty like really trying to do is making those reviews come to life. And there are two main ways you can do that. One is with something we call custom questions. So that's asking questions about the customer or about the customer's experience, such as like, how old are they, what's their skin type, or about their experience as like quality or taste or fit or any of those things. And then it's media. It's getting photos, videos, other types of like things beyond just text. And those, when I, as like a customer, end up in a review section and I don't just see, hey, 4.5 stars and like a couple nice sentiments, but I see like a picture of somebody who looks like me and like these attributes that match what I am looking for with the product, it's a lot more helpful, and I'm a lot more likely to actually believe what they're saying, whether positive or negative.
That's a really valid point. I think like having the ability to see yourself in the product and having this the ability to see there's a person leaving this review. So like when I see videos, I love to see that. I love to see the images. One of my favorite things to do is like, so I'm an Amazon shopper. I'm no shame admitting that. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I hate about Amazon is like you never know if the reviews are really real and authentic in a lot of ways. And like I know like they're trying to kind of remove bad actors and all these things, but like a lot of times there's not like real images associated. And so like when I shop D2C, I'll see the images. If I know they're using Junip, of course, there's probably more images and stuff going on there, but it just helps you to kind of break through, I think, some of the inauthentic kind of like, sketch type reviews that I think for the longest time kind of, we saw on a lot of D2C sites. Something that I think touches on the content side of the reviews too, I think is like, you've built Junip to be mobile first and be optimized for mobile. Can you talk about why like you took this approach to making sure like you really captured the mobile part of leaving reviews?
That was really like one of the big things that we focused on, especially at the start of building Junip, was that we think there's kind of been like, there's this Gen 1 of like review tools that came out in the early 2000s. Then there was the Gen 2 that came out like early 2010s. And they had kind of become the old guard by the time that we started. And in the early 2010s, people were still mostly building around desktop experiences. But consumers really have entirely shifted to mobile at this point. The across all Junip brands, 83% of reviews are left on mobile. And so it's just not close. Like we frankly like don't really consider the desktop experience when we're designing. We design for mobile and then we kind of make it work on desktop because it's just so overwhelming how like much more traffic is coming on the mobile side. The thing that frankly like we didn't expect when we were doing that was that mobile actually happens to just be a way better place for you to get reviews. So we knew we had to work on that screen, but it was kind of an accident that we learned that like people are like from a psychological perspective, like way more likely to emote on like a mobile experience. We're much more professional in like a desktop world, whereas on mobile, we're willing to express our like opinions more and we're willing to express our emotions. We're also way better at taking photos and videos with our phone than on like our webcam or desktop. And so getting all those things that make a review great are just way, way, way easier when we have the customer on their phone.
And I know you mentioned too, like when we were talking the other month, we were doing an interview for my attentive series. You were talking about like this Wharton study, I think, that talked about like how people just generally open up more, have more, just honest conversations. Like I think like text as a channel or like, mobile as a channel, if you will, like leaving reviews, like I feel like it would naturally, you would type more how you would talk to a friend. And when you're
Yeah.
reading that review, it just feels way more authentic. It's something you would feel like you're getting a recommendation, honestly, or just an honest take rather than, yeah, like you're at a keyboard, you can type faster, all these different things that kind of, it feels maybe a little bit different. So I love thinking about that. And then also something that I kind of thought of as you were saying that was, the I guess option to, if it's a desktop review, I have to send that image to my email maybe or airdrop it to my MacBook and then upload it. Rather I could just go right from my my library and just put it right onto the site. So it's just an easy experience. Not only that, then being able to be authentic in the review and just kind of keep it conversational. I think there's really, really important points about being mobile optimized.
Yeah, and to your point of like just the photo on desktop, like we built a feature called handoff where on the media stage, if you're leaving a review on desktop, you can actually scan a QR code and add a photo or video from your phone because again, nobody's taking a photo or video when they're on their computer. And so that like 4 times increase in photos and videos is always like, oh, how the heck did you do that? It's easy to leave it on your photo or on your phone, and like that's the entire difference. There's really no secret sauce.
It's crazy to think about that. Yeah, I mean, like 4x is just insane. And I think also like I saw something like a tweet recently from I think it was Jacob from Homestead. He was talking about like, like how build to be mobile optimized and just desktop okay in a lot of ways, like, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like we as marketers, especially in the SaaS space, we're on our desktops all day, and it can be really easy to not sort of realize that like like hey, like I'm actually in the minority, kind of like when you look at the breakout of how people are engaging, like you said, over 80% of people on mobile like leaving reviews is just insane. But I guess on that note too, like, are there any other ways besides optimizing for mobile as we think about leaving reviews? Like, are there some other best practices or things that we can think about to just make that experience better?
Yeah, we say we want to get as close to where, when, and how customers are most likely to leave a review. And so like the mobile part is like the where, but also like the sending of the review request is another big chunk of that. And so we've done some things to prompt people in places they're already going, such as like an account page or subscription page or order tracking page. So we have what we call review links, where a brand can embed a CTA in a bunch of different places across their customer experience that somebody's going to go after they've already made a purchase, and they can just be prompted to leave a review there. I think like maybe backing up from like a feature perspective, if we think about like how brands have gathered reviews in e-commerce for the last decade or two, it's really just through like yelling at customers. Like it's these post-purchase emails, and the biggest like innovation we created to get more reviews was yell at them more. Like instead of sending one email, now we send 2 or 3. We don't think that that's like the best choice for you to make to have like sort of like increased lifetime value and like increased customer happiness. But there are all these customers who like actually really do want to leave you a review. It's just too painful for them to do it. And so if we put this CTA in places they're already going, or if the way that we request the review through those post-purchase requests is a little bit more like tactful and a little bit nicer, through either like making sure that we're sending it on the right time by pulling in Wonderment data, or like sort of shipment and delivery tracking data to trigger that actual review request, as well as sending on the channel that they like the best. So if a customer is most likely to leave a review through email, we should send them an email, and we should do that through Junip, or we should do it through Klaviyo. If they're most likely to leave a review through SMS, we should send them a text, and we should do that through whatever text messaging provider a brand is using.
I think that's a really good call out. Not yelling at your customers is like one of the, most important things to think about. Like we have so many things as marketers that we have to communicate. And, like the post-purchase journey can feel really crowded in a lot of ways. Like, that's something we're trying to solve for. Our Wonderment is helping to kind of solve like kind of what that experience looks like pre, delivery. But like, I mean, after delivery, like there's a lot of things that are fighting for attention. It's like the review requests, it's the subscription reminders, it's the content, onboarding, education, like all these things. And so like, I think what you're saying is really important to keep in mind is like orchestration is key, channel affinity is key, but also like looking at more intelligent ways to just display it too. Like customers do want to leave reviews and talk about it. And I think like that's really admirable. How you're kind of thinking about the world is like, it's not only just yelling at your customers, like there's a lot more, that we can do at this day and age.
And like if we take it out of the review context, it makes it really, really clear what we're talking about here, which is like if you just want to increase revenue from email marketing, for example, and you just want to increase revenue for next week, like the way to do that is scream at your customers, send them 5 emails a day, and like you're going to increase revenue next week, but you're going to piss off a lot of people, and you're going to pay some long-term costs for that. And so it's really clear when you look at it in like that lens. For some reason, reviews has kind of been like sitting outside of that and hasn't been thought of in the same way. And like, of course, we're able to just spam people to leave a review, but we have to think about it in the same way. The one story that one of our agency partners, Matt from Urban Folk, was telling us was that he gets the same pizza every Thursday for his family, for like his wife and kids. I think he goes to Pizza, which is a bad choice because that's not a good pizza place. But he goes to Pizza, gets the same pizza every single week. Every single week, they send him an email after he gets his pizza asking him to leave a review. Like Matt has bought like the LTV on like his pizza consumption with your pizza place is insane, and you're still just harassed. Like, and he's so annoyed that he's getting this email every week. That's one of your like best customers. You should not be harassing them just for a review. If he wants to leave a review, he knows how to do it.
That's insane. I had a similar experience. I'm sure everyone listening probably has had a similar experience as well. And I think it paints a really good picture. And one of my questions for you actually is like, is it okay to ask for a review on a first purchase? Like, should you think about, like, hey, if I'm a CPG or consumables brand, like maybe it's second, third, fourth purchase, like when is the right time? And is there like a hard and fast rule?
Yeah, I think it definitely is okay. I think that like the more nuanced thing that like a lot of our brands have to like test is like when after the first purchase do they make the ask. We like as much as I rail against like spamming people to request reviews, we still want to make clear the door is open, and so like you should send that review request. But the timing really does change, and that's something that you really should A/B test. An example I would give is like obviously there's timing constraints around delivery where just every brand who's listening to this probably knows like they've gotten that review that said like, okay, I haven't actually gotten my order yet, 1 star. And so we need to get those out of the way. That's just like basics. Like we need to stop that. But sending it like a week after delivery versus like 4 weeks after delivery ends up with like some really different results. One of the CBD brands that we were working with, they were sending their review requests exactly 7 days after the product was delivered, and they kept getting these like 2-star reviews. Like, it doesn't work. I don't know what it's doing. I'm not happy with it. Blah blah blah. And then they switched it to send it 45 days after purchase, and they got about 10% fewer reviews because a lot of people had like some people had moved on or weren't as interested. They weren't as warm, but way better. It was night and day. Went from average 2-star to average like 4.7 because people had actually had a chance to use the product. And so, especially for CPG or any of these consumables where it takes a little bit of time to know, like, do I actually like this product? We should test that out. But we also have brands on the exact opposite end of the spectrum where they said, hey, we're going to wait 90 days to send a review request because we sell camping equipment and we want people to really have tried it by then. But then by the time they send the review request 90 days later, the customer's forgotten that they bought it. And they move it up to 7 days and they have great reviews. So there's no, like, everybody always wants a clean cut answer of like, you should do exactly this for everybody. That doesn't exist. But we can try stuff and we can A/B test and we can figure out what works for your brand and your customer.
That's definitely the magic rule of e-commerce. It depends, I think, is like the best answer, But
Yeah.
I think what you're saying too is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say next podcast title. It depends.
Just change it to it depends instead of thank you, come again. But I think it's what you're saying too is it comes back to the quality over quantity kind of narrative that I think we started the conversation with. Is it's like you even if like a 10% decrease in total reviews that you talked about with the CBD brand, like they're having a chance to get their hands in the product, test it out, and then like when those reviews start to think about the next first time purchaser reads that review and someone's actually tested the product. It's not just like 5 stars, like, cool, like thanks, great experience, but like actually talks about the benefits, their experience. Like I can imagine these are compounding effects. And if I was thinking about my own brand, I would definitely want that kind of real, honest review, even if it was 10, 20% less, to have like authentic reviews. So important. One of the things I wanted to ask you about too was you talked about like timing of this, and something that I know that we worked on here with Wonderment and Junip was kind of being able to time the review request off of, shipment delivered events. So could you talk a little bit about like the Wonderment and Junip, I guess we can call it integration, but just sort of like experience and how that's helping maybe to better orchestrate review requests?
We can definitely call it integration. It's an awesome experience. I think like from a high level, Wonderment and Junip are both aligned in that like we're kind of a new crop of like tools that I guess like a way you could say it is like we don't have like our guards up in the same way that kind of that first gen of like ecom like technology does. There was an earlier batch that really wanted to like own everything and live in their own little silos. And the reality of the post purchased experience especially is there are like 17 different things that are trying to talk to a customer, and if we don't talk to each other, then you're just like spamming the crap out of customers. And so what Wonderment does is Wonderment really understands like, hey, this is where the package is, this is when it got delivered, this is like, which is the thing that should orchestrate everything that you're doing post-purchase. Like knowing if somebody's shipment is delayed versus somebody's shipment arrived early changes everything that you're talking to that customer about. And so we get to piggyback off of that, where you're able to trigger everything that goes out from a review perspective based off of when Wonderment gives us kind of the green light. So we wait for Wonderment to say like, hey, it showed up, it's there, and you can go reach out, which makes sure that we don't send it before the review, or sorry, that we don't send the review request before the package arrives. It also, if we bring it back to like testing, lets us be more specific with our testing, because we know that we're actually sending it X days after it has been delivered versus just like trying to guess. If we don't know when the package is delivered, then sure, we're sending like 7 days after fulfillment, but the test isn't going to be good because some people then got that 2 days after it was delivered, and some people got it 4 days after it was delivered. So it lets people be a lot more accurate with how they're sort of iterating on things. But overall, the easiest thing, just like any brand can get and benefit, no work required, no testing, is just making sure that everybody who gets a review request has actually gotten their product.
It feels just like such a logical kind of evolution too. I think in like the customer experience, like I think 2021 was all about retention. I think 2022 and 23, I think will be about customer experience. And like this is just fundamentally letting you dictate a better customer experience.
Yeah, we don't have flying cars, but we do have the technology to build a personalized shopping experience. And we should at least use that.
100%. Well, maybe flying cars will come at some point, but in the time being, this will bide our time. But I'm really excited by this, dude. I think like it's been a lot of positive feedback, I think, early on, but I'm excited to see, just like kind of where this, can really help to better orchestrate, just beyond like just this, but thinking about like what the future state could be too. I think one of the other cool things about this, is we're able to also put the review request on a tracking page too. I know that we're looking at that experience. Like, any thoughts just like on that? I know we're talking about more about real estate to ask for reviews. Any thoughts just about you being able to put that there as well?
I think we're a very small part of a very big ledge that Wonderment is jumping off of here, that I think is like much more interesting, even just on your side. Of like, I think what you guys are doing with the order tracking pages is taking this very boring, underutilized part of the e-commerce experience, and making it like helpful, valuable, useful, both to the customer and the brand. If you compare like sending a customer to a Wonderment tracking page versus like a DHL stock tracking page, it's just night and day. To the earlier, like, we have the technology comment, like, it's, you can just have like the same delivery tracking experience that Apple has. Like that's available to you now through Wonderment. One really small part of that is what Junip's doing, which is we're able to put a CTA on those tracking pages so that when an order has been delivered, you can actually prompt customers to leave a review from there as well if a customer ends up on that tracking page. But I think overall, if 2021 was retention, like 2022, like everybody is aware, like there's no free lunch anymore. Like you just have to be excellent, like on every single part of the customer experience. And this is an obvious place where brands can just add excellence without working that hard, because Wonderment's made it easy for them.
I think we got to get you to do our sales pitches for us. That was glowing. Thank you. But no, I totally agree with you. I think it's, for us, we see the tracking page as a lot more. But I think it's stuff like this. Being able to just put the review request on a tracking page. Even if it's just a small lift, or even if it's just a test that you're running, it's just new real estate to be able to try. I think like where it's getting harder and harder to retarget customers, and it's what we're talking about too. It's like, we don't want to yell at our customers all the time, and if you can just casually start that kind of breadcrumb of like, hey, you can leave a review on this tracking page, I think it also just kind of starts to embed more of the behaviors that we want our customers to be taking.
Totally. And I think we're gonna, like, as more brands start to deploy these, and you guys are doing good work with like the tracking page library, and like we're gonna just see different experimentation, whether it's reviews or whether it's like surveys with Faring, or whether it's like just recommended products or different stuff with loyalty. I think we're going to see a lot of experimentation across like this real estate over the next 12 months.
Very excited. Yeah, I think it's great to see merchants. I mean, to be able to take advantage of this, but also like tech vendors like Junip and like us as well. Be really thinking about like what's the future state looking like for customer experience in a lot of ways. But to pull this back to reviews, because I do want to ask you the $1 million question that I think is on everyone's mind is give me your best argument for why reviews and UGC are critical in driving repeat business.
It's interesting because I think like reviews in that like sort of early 2010s lens was viewed purely as a like conversion lever of like, okay, we can add reviews to the site and then like overnight you'll increase conversion 30%. And viewed exclusively through that lens, reviews actually got taken to a little bit of a bad place because if you're only optimizing for conversion, then it's not that big of a jump for you to jump to tricking customers. And that's where you see all the bad behavior come in. That's where you see like hiding all of the bad reviews. That's where you see removing like just adding fake content or any of those types of things. And so what we like reviews well done, both should increase conversion and decrease your return rate. Because it should be giving customers a really honest perspective of what the experience of using this product is going to be. And if customers have an honest perspective of what using a product is going to be, and they have a lower return rate, and they do have an increased conversion rate, they're also going to retain way better because they're not going to get some crappy product they aren't happy with. That does like, it does sort of raise the stakes where if you just have bad products, you're not going to make it and you're probably a bad fit for Junip, sorry. But if you have great products, they aren't for everybody. And so honest reviews can help somebody actually know, hey, this isn't the product I should buy, but I should buy this one. You don't want to be doing returns anyways. That's a really expensive part of your business. And so reviews done well are an honest representation of what the product is, which can absolutely increase retention and increase sort of like customer lifetime value because they're actually going to be happy with the product they buy.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think that you hit it on the head. It's really painting the best possible picture of like what they're signing up for and getting into. And then also like some of those other intrinsic benefits too of like I think one of the cool things about asking for a review is it's like you're letting the customer really kind of tell you what their experience was like. And I think that also just kind of shows the attention is like to also just value them as a customer. And like, I know a lot of merchants will read those reviews and that influences product roadmap. Maybe they end up reaching out to the customer too, and actually, further probing or learning more about their own experiences. So like, it's a lot of what you said, I think is like, just generally like it's all customer experience focused at the end of the day.
Totally. And they're like, I think this is maybe taking this in a little bit of a different direction, but it's on the same line is like, they are like a living, breathing thing too, where don't hide the review, like deal with the customer's problem and then ask them to edit it if you solve their problem.
Totally.
And so whether it's like replying to reviews or engaging with customers who are unhappy, asking them to edit it, looking at the content that's coming in and using that to inform like your product development. I mean, like we have reviews for our own product on the Shopify App Store, and that's absolutely what we're doing is we're engaging with all of those. We're understanding what's going on, what do people like, what don't people like about the app, and I'm sure you guys are doing a similar thing with Wonderment too.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's just so many benefits that come from starting the conversation with that, and then also really like what you said about responding to reviews is also really critical. I think too. Like I actually look a lot at that as a consumer. If a brand's active in those reviews, and if there are negative reviews, like did they try to resolve it? Because not every experience can be perfect in a lot of ways, and I think you learn a lot about a brand or even a company from how they respond to those reviews. So, Stuart, I could talk for days with you about this. This has been super insightful as always. What's next for Junip? Like what's going on over the next few months for you guys?
I mean, we got a lot on the go. The one I can share right now, we do have it's not announced yet, so we might be breaking news on Thank You Come Again, but we're really good at gathering photos and videos, and so we wanted to expand that out. So we're actually giving the option to add TikTok videos into your reviews. So we've seen a lot of customers, especially in the younger demographics, are actually like downloading TikToks and adding them to the reviews manually. And so we did an integration with TikTok's login kit. So now brands can let customers add TikToks into any review that they have.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. I know a lot of brands are going to be very excited about that. Just having that ability to do that is It seems like a logical evolution, I think, but I'm also not surprised because you guys seem to really be on like the pulse of like where reviews and UGC should be headed. So dude, that's awesome.
Appreciate you sharing that. And I mean, like this was a lot of fun. We should do another one next week.
Well, you're always welcome back. So, I mean, we definitely have to plan something, and maybe when that product drops, we'll have to do a feature on that. But before I let you go, where can we go to learn more about Junip?
So it's just junip.co, junip.co. And then on social, we're Junip HQ on all the platforms.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. I learned a heck of a lot from this episode with Stuart. I hope you did as well. I just wanted to recap my top 5 takeaways from today's discussion. First, it's all about quality over quantity with reviews. Stuart talked a lot about how we're in this new era of review capture and how we should be really helping to bring them to life by asking customers questions based on their experience. So some examples that he mentioned include, how old are you? How was your experience? How did it taste? How did it fit? All these things that can really probe for a more thoughtful and authentic review. Also, asking for media can be super impactful, making that review more credible and focusing on quality. So, if you're using a solution that's optimized for mobile like Junip, you can really easily capture more media in UGC. But it's also just really great to add credibility to the review. As another person reads that review, they're seeing what's on there, and then they're seeing the images of the product out in the wild. It can be a really great 1-2 punch there. Number 2, optimize your review capture motion for mobile. I think Stuart mentioned like 83% of Junip's brands have customers leaving reviews on mobile. We know that, we're in a mobile first era. People have been saying this for a decade and a half now, I think. But it's also just really interesting what he was talking about, how people open up more on mobile. They're more conversational. They're more authentic. They type, just like they would be talking with a friend. And so these are all really great things that can help us to capture more credible and just authentic reviews. It's also great for UGC capture. I think he mentioned like 4 times more UGC being captured via mobile reviews. There's a really cool Jones Road Beauty case study that kind of talks about some of the impact and how they were able to really capture a lot more UGC from being mobile optimized. It's on Junip's website. I think it was Attentive and Jones Road Beauty and Junip. So that case study is awesome. Highly recommend you check it out and see some of that actual, proof of kind of how this really works. Number 3, you can also optimize your review capture by avoiding yelling at your customers and making it seamless. Channel affinity of where they're engaging with you on, if it's email, if it's SMS, can be really impactful. And thinking about how you ask for that review, but also placing your review request on your order tracking page or on site or leaving a product insert. These are all things that help bridge the gap and also kind of create more of a visibility of, hey, like leave a review if you had a great experience. Also, being able to time your reviews off of a delivered event and not just a order placed event is really, really critical. So a solution like Wonderment, not to plug Wonderment, but we really help you to capture reviews in a timely way, saying, okay, this product hit the doorstep. Now let's wait X amount of time and then ask for a review rather than, hey, 21 days after purchase, for example. So it's eliminating the guessing game and really making sure that you're optimized for capture. Number 4, timing with reviews depends. He mentioned a lot about how testing out different things and learning what works for your brand, and there's no hard and fast rule. But again, using a delivered event can really help you to start from a place of kind of equanimity almost, and being able to capture, more intelligent kind of testing data. So if it's 7 days after delivery versus 21 days, etc. So you kind of get the idea of what you can do there. And number 5, reviews well done should also increase conversion rates and decrease return rates. And this is because reviews give a customer an honest perspective of what they're getting into, what the product experience is like. They can see images, videos, and it helps to just really reduce buyer's remorse and really is a great way for them to rule out or rule in, is this the right product for me? So these are really great things for customer experience. You're setting the stage really well with your reviews. So there you have it, folks. That's my top 5 takeaways from today's episode. I am so bullish on what Stuart and Junip are building, but regardless of whatever review solution you're using, I hope you're able to get some new food for thought on how to capture more quality over quantity reviews from your customers. That's all for this week's episode. Until next time, thank you and come again.